A few years back, I spent months trying to learn programming. I hated every second of it. I just couldn't get into it. I found it the most boring thing I'd ever attempted. And I knew it wasn't for me, but I kept pushing anyway. Why? Because someone said I couldn't do it. So I really wanted to prove them wrong. Meanwhile, the things I really wanted to do just lay there, completely forgotten. Hey there, I'm Paolo. I make videos to help you build better habits, overcome your fears, and finally get unstuck. I told you that programming story to illustrate what spite really does. It gets you moving, but not always in the right direction. And look, I'm not saying that spite is all bad, because honestly, when I had zero self-confidence, spite was just about the only thing that managed to get me off the couch and take action. So like someone doubts you, suddenly you have energy that you didn't have 5 minutes ago. That project you've been avoiding for weeks, now you're ready to dive in just to prove a point. And criticism that would normally crush you, now it fuels you instead. So you could think of spite like a video game buff, which is a temporary power boost. And in the beginning, it's incredibly effective. It can light a fire under you when nothing else can. But here's the problem with spite. You think you are showing them, right? You think you are taking control and getting revenge. But you're not. You're still seeking their approval. Your sense of self-worth is still tied to what they think. You are using their compass instead of yours. When I tried to learn coding, I thought I was just proving that I was capable and I could do it. But in reality, I was just letting that person's doubt control my choices. I was working for his reaction, so I wasn't really free. I was just in a different cage. But even if I had succeeded, even if I had become pretty good at programming, so what? I would have proven my worth to someone who didn't support me in the first place. Maybe it would have felt good for like a day, maybe. But after that, what? Yes, I get it that coding is a useful skill. But I never really liked it. And when you don't want a goal for yourself, even if you reach it, it doesn't feel nearly as good as you thought it would. So yes, spite is powerful fuel in the short term. But in the long term, it's poison. Also, here's what really gets me about that whole programming thing that I did out of spite. My real goals, the ones I actually cared about, were learning piano as a hobby and finding success by creating online content. But what was I doing? I was wasting months on programming, which, again, it's a useful skill, but I hated it. It had nothing to do with the kind of person I am. It was just a side quest, while my real goals were just there, getting dust. And I didn't do this just with programming, but with many other things too. So basically I wasted years and years trying to prove something that really didn't matter. Not to me anyway. But here's where spite gets really dark. Sometimes you don't just pursue the wrong goals. Sometimes you actively try to make yourself miserable just so that the person who hurt you maybe will feel guilty. I did this. I used to have a friend whom I consider like my own brother, but unfortunately he kept treating me badly. I wanted him to be nicer to me. Even just a little would have been enough for me. But he never did, and I couldn't change him. So what did I do instead? I tried to make my life worse, on purpose. Like, I am a naturally positive and optimistic person, but at the time, I actively suppressed those feelings. I stopped doing things I enjoyed, like writing, piano, or meeting friends, and I just tried to make myself as unhappy as possible. Because I thought, if he saw how miserable I had become, maybe he would realize what he'd done and maybe he would feel guilty. It was dumb, I know. But that's what spite can make people do. You stop trying to prove people wrong when they criticize you or judge you, and instead you try to prove them so right that they will come to regret it. And the worst part is that they likely don't care. You're just ruining yourself for nothing. So, does this mean you should never use spite to motivate yourself? No, I'm not saying that. Spite can be the spark, but not the fuel. So, use it to get off the couch and get out of a rut when nothing else seems to work. But after a while, and this is the important part, you need to ask yourself, do I actually want to do this? Or am I just trying to prove something? If you're only doing it to prove someone wrong, that's a problem. Because the purpose of using spite to motivate yourself should only be to help yourself go from inactive to active. But afterwards, just let spite be one reason to work towards something, not the only reason. And even more importantly, you should try to gradually move away from using spite as a motivator. Because at the end of the day, you're the one who's going to live with your choices, not them. Thank you for watching. And if you want to build the confidence to go after your goals for yourself, not just to prove someone wrong, I created a completely free guide called How to Build Confidence Even If You're Starting from Zero. It's a practical workbook that will help you build genuine self-belief. That will also naturally make you stop needing spite to get yourself going. Link in the description if you're interested. And I'll see you next time. Bye.